Broadcasting across the country and around the world, from Sin City in Las Vegas, Nevada, join Moose and PowerSerg as we prove that age is truly just a number and the best life is yet to come. Grab a seat, pour yourself a drink, and dare to live on 50 Shades of Great. Welcome back to another episode, 50 Shades of Great. Moose and PowerSerg here, remote again. Unfortunately, we had F1 in Vegas, and I don't think anything's recovered since then. So we went ahead and did our travel. So we are remote. PowerSerg, welcome to the program.
Yeah, Vegas, it is. The streets of Vegas are not great. I mean, they started breaking down the moment F1 ended. I was actually out of town specifically because of F1. Last year was just a complete zoo.
I was talking to some friends and neighbors I've got here that it was up to 4 and 5 hours of people that worked in the casinos that were on like the 6th and 7th floor that it took them just to get out of those things coming to work. They ended up taking Ubers and cabs and leaving their cars there. Just ridiculous. It almost makes you consider I understand it's good for Vegas on a world front and in the sports world and F1, but it kind of, it's not good for everybody, right? I mean,
well, it depends. Like, I think it's good for the city. It's good for our tax base. We don't pay state income tax, and there's a reason for that. And this is the kind of things we have to deal with. But and what it is good. So while everybody else was in Vegas for the F1, I went to Dallas and I went to the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight.
You did.
It was very exciting.
There.
Yeah,
I saw the pictures.
I kind of know Mike Tyson. I've smoked cigars with the man. I've met him a couple of times. And he's a solid guy. And I felt like I had to go support Mike. Plus he's our age.
In fact, PowerSerg, we were running a reel that went viral where the announcer is actually interviewing Tyson after the fight. And he asks him, like, hey, what do you want to say to those 40? Like, basically, he says, hey, 50 Shades of Great, the dare to live. What do you want to say to these men? Do we have that clip? Can we roll that again?
Yeah. So take a look at this clip. When I heard it live. I went absolutely berserk.
To all the 50-year-olds out there, to all the 40-year-olds who grew up watching you, what is the message to those people who thought, you know what, maybe I could do this one day?
Well, this is going to be really tough if they can. I wish them the best.
Like, I wanted to jump up and down in my seat, and it was really because it really spoke to me, right? As somebody, like, ultimately the show is for us. And that clip spoke to me. Now, I didn't really care for Mike's answer. I liked the weigh-ins better when he slapped Jake Paul. I'm not a Jake Paul fan. I haven't liked him since he was on YouTube. And I know that he says that he's a great boxer. I think he's greatly overhyped. And I know that he won the fight. I saw it.
Did he?
Well, that's the thing. The Mike Tyson that we saw in that fight was not the Mike Tyson that
you saw him coming
fight.
out. I tell you what, so we're going to get back to the premise of the show here, which is going to be, what do you say to that 40 and 50-year-old guy who, and I think the premise that kind of sets up that question for the announcer was, Serge, and I don't know if you were into boxing 20 years ago, but I remember watching the Tyson fight where at the end of the fight, he's just defeated. And he goes, this is my last fight. I'm done. I guess I'm not in boxing anymore. And he put the period on the end of the sentence, like, this is it. Now, 20 years later, this, happens. And I tell you what, we'll get into was it fixed?
Look,
was it fake? Was it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not close enough to Mike to know whether the fight was fixed or not. But I will tell you that the Mike Tysons that we saw walk out on the stage and we saw walk into the ring.
The knee brace.
They're different, but they were different. Mike Tyson. The intensity we saw in the weigh-ins on the stage and the intensity we saw in the ring is different. Now, I'm sure he's feeling his age, and I get it. I've tried to get back to jiu-jitsu as a 54-year-old guy after I broke my leg, and I know that Mike had medical issues.
He almost died 6 months earlier, right?
Yeah.
I
think it was the infection, the abdomen infection, diverticulitis.
Diverticulitis.
Diverticulitis. And so I get the fact that he's coming off of a really tough period in his life physically, right? And I get that. right? But the Mike Tyson that I saw, and now you got to give props to Jake Paul. He looked much bigger than I thought he would, right? He definitely put on some weight.
He looked intense. He looked like a machine.
All right.
It reminded me of the Ivan Drago. Remember the Russian fighter in Rocky? Ivan Drago.
He didn't.
And
I don't
if
know.
he dies, he dies.
I thought he was also somewhat hesitant and somewhat tentative, right? So I didn't think it was a great performance from him either as a boxer. But he looked bigger than I thought that he was. Because I remember him as a scrawny kid, but I guess that was a long time ago. And
where he was doing like the Taylor Swift dance or whatever in his room. Do you see that video that went viral?
Yeah, the Taylor Swift dance. Yeah, and Mike Tyson lost to that guy. Like, it's crazy. It is crazy sauce that Mike Tyson lost to this guy, right? That being said, this guy that was on YouTube and the guy now is two different people. Mike Tyson that beat all those people in the first round and knocked them out silly is different today. Now, I saw Mike maybe about a year ago, and right when he began training, and he was still looking good, and his head was in the right place, and he was talking about it in the right. So I don't know what happened, right? Well, other than, look, getting old sucks, and sometimes
does suck.
Sometimes physically, it's a really tough time, right? So I don't know. I don't know if those fixed. There's a video running around with definitive proof. I don't think it's definitive proof. Like we didn't want to, like every other podcast out there is dissecting that video and commenting on it. We didn't really want to do that.
That doesn't even pertain to the mission of our show, right? So going back to what we started talking about here is the fact that Mike Tyson took himself out of boxing in front of the world. And here's what I'm going to say is there is no denying, I don't care fixed or not fixed, Mike Tyson is the baddest, craziest, toughest motherfucker that still walks this earth overall. Like, you can't take that away from him. Like, he is Tyson. I mean, I remember playing the Mike Tyson's Punch Out. In the end, you get to Mike Tyson. But, and I'm not going to take anything with Jake Paul either. I don't want to get in the ring with that guy. He'll knock me
I don't know, $20 million? I'd take an ass whooping. That's all right.
Well, I guess there's that.
I mean, I'll dance around the ring for a bit. I mean, I don't know.
But going back though,
when we were walking out, so the fight is over. I'm kind of pissed off anyway. And we're walking out. I'm with a couple of my friends from Dallas, and we're walking out, and they're all in their 40s. And we're walking out, and this kid behind me is talking about, it felt bad. Like, Jake Paul, how can he fight a senior citizen? Like, it's like elder abuse. Like, it looked awful. And, and I look back at the kid, and I go, hey, how old are you? He goes, 22. I go, I'm 54. I'll give you 3 rounds right now.
What's the purse?
It was funny because I wasn't like ready to throw down with the kid, but it was funny, and he looked at me and he didn't know what to do. So I think there's a definite value to fighters our age, right? There's a definite value. We see older fighters successful in MMA. We see older fighters successful in boxing. So there is a value. I think the results of the fight do not undervalue what Mike Tyson did and what he's trying to do. Right. I know there's a lot of memes. I know a lot of people were not happy. I will tell you that the crowd at the stadium was absolutely energized. They booed Jake Paul when he came out, and they cheered for Mike Tyson when Mike came out.
Well, I tell you what, coming from the female match into the Mike Tyson match.
Those two matches. Yeah.
Amazing. Like, that was one of the best boxing matches and I don't agree with those results. I think clearly that went to the wrong that award went to the wrong person as well.
Yeah. But watching that was a fight.
That was a fight. And, from the camera angle in your living room, when it wasn't buffering, you could see like the face popped open, and nowadays
brutal.
It was brutal, and I'm watching this in 4K, and then we're just thinking, oh man. And I think that also kind of took away from the Tyson Paul fight, because the last fight was so freaking rad that, we expected, oh my God, if this is on the front card, how is this, Tyson Paul match going to be? And I think because of that, it disappointed a little as well. But I will say, look, I want to go back to what I started before we've talked for the last 6 minutes, is the bottom line is the guy got out of boxing 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. This calls out to you. It calls out to me. It calls out to the people that watch this show, because you know what? Just because something didn't go well or something ended in your life, now's the time to rebirth it. Now's the time to get back in the ring. And when I saw the last month of Tyson fighting and going from laying in a hospital bed to, you saw it, the champ was in there. I mean, he was in there looking like Iceman freaking, Chuck Liddell. He had Chuck Liddell energy and moves like he didn't have in the past. I mean, you've got to say that it was inspiring. I don't care, one way I do kind of care if it was fixed. I mean, do I get my money back?
Yeah, I lost money on that fight.
Is there a lawsuit on that yet?
I don't know.
Because if it was fixed, that would be. But then a lot of people say that the NFL's fixed and that there's a script there every week. And but anyhow, I just think that looking at the ambition, looking at let's break it down. Mike Tyson has not been as relevant lately. Okay, Mike Tyson has bills to pay. He even said when he got on the movie the Hangover here in Vegas he has bills to pay. The guy, I can't blame him for going in the ring to make $20 million, and everyone's giving him shit. But what's WWE? I mean, that's not real.
So here's the thing. What I didn't care for, I saw an interview before the fight, right, with Jake Paul, where he talks about that he plays the role of the heel. That's something out of his brother, I think, is wrestling, right? If I'm not mistaken. And so
his brother sells that, what is that? That energy drink.
Yeah. But so I will say that I hope the boxing doesn't go by the way of WWE. And I hope the same thing with MMA. We've seen some aspects of it, right? There's a level of showmanship in WWE and professional wrestling that some of the other combat sports pick up, right?
Right.
The roles, the rivalries, because all of that drives fan excitement and enthusiasm, and because of fan excitement and enthusiasm, it drives revenue.
It sells. It drives commercial. We're in the commercial business.
But I hope that UFC. I hope that boxing isn't fixed. It would break my heart to find out that the fights are scripted and fixed. It would just break my heart.
I don't think they are. I don't think they are. You and I have both spent time with UFC guys. We've spent time. I don't think the UFC is scripted. I don't think boxing's been scripted over the years. I think there's a lot of, everywhere you turn, there's a conspiracy theory for everything. There's people, the guy was arguing with me. I do aviation security. There's still a guy arguing with me saying that an airplane didn't hit the Pentagon on 9/11. I mean, we have video of it. It was probably doctored. Oh my. Yeah, so you're always going to have
look,
that.
there is a flat earth. There's lots of flat earth people. There's a flat earth society. Gravity. And maybe one day, honestly, I really want to bring in a flat earther and debate him or her, or talk to them about why they believe the earth is flat. I'm generally fascinated. Maybe we'll do that since we have a podcast, maybe we'll do that for a podcast.
Right. Yeah. We've got the forum. We've got the vehicles for it, but you were talking about,
what I was going to say,
50-year-old people going out and rolling on the mat again.
Yeah. But here's what I was going to say about professional sports. So I don't know if it's fixed, exactly hey, you're going to win, you're going to lose. This is the round you're going to do it in. So, but what I do think that both the UFC, which controls their fights, and boxing promotions set up fights to make good rivalries. And some of those fights, the people that are losing is somewhat right there. The tune-up fight idea, right? That before a fighter can hit the championship, he needs a couple of tune-up fights so that his star goes higher, and so that he's able to be competitive in the ring.
Serge, but it's a different discipline, right? I'll give you an example. You and I both study Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, okay? And we both went through Gracie Barra. Why? Because it was the purest form that we could find locally. Carlos Gracie Jr. set up the purest form of Brazilian jiu-jitsu in Southern California at the time, right? And the reason I ended up leaving Gracie Baja and actually, ended up getting out of jiu-jitsu altogether, because then I didn't have time to go back. I couldn't find time to. But the reason I couldn't find time, Serge, is just because of this. It's because of this whole, almost cross section. Because these younger kids came in, and Professor Parker. I was with Professor Parker down in the San Diego, in the Moreno area, and I'm not blaming Professor Parker, because he's got to cater to the clientele. It's a business. It's not a 501c3. It's not the government. I mean, it's a for-profit business. But what happened is, all of a sudden, instead of 5 rolling classes a day for BJJ, it was, ground and pound, kickboxing, blah, blah, blah. It was like mixed martial arts. And so it got to the point that for my level, being a 3-stripe blue belt, for my level, for my age, to have guys that were going to be similar, to have, I had like 4 classes during the week I could choose from. When I joined, I had like 25. And so I was upset about the fact that, that's kind of crossed over. When I saw the Conor McGregor and, when Conor McGregor gets into the boxing ring, like Canelo right now, right? Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, like these guys study a different type of martial art or sport. And I think it's not fair. And I don't know if the fan base for this, it was a lot of hoopla. There was a lot of Hollywood involved in this. There was a lot of Vegas involved in this, right? But I don't think that a true boxing fan, a true Canelo fan, a true Mike Tyson fan really even wanted to see this fight. They didn't want it. They wanted to see.
I don't know.
They didn't want to see Mike Tyson go against a joke, right?
No, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't speak for other people. I can tell you, and maybe we'll get some comments. We'll turn this into a reel and see how much hate you get on Instagram and TikTok. But I'm a fan, right? I'm not as much of a boxing fan, really. I'm more of I really like mixed martial arts, and I'm a big fan. I love the UFC, and I love sitting at home watching the UFC, because there's definitely a showmanship. I don't like going to the UFC fights because they're just too big. It's hard to see things. I don't hear the announcers, like all the things.
I enjoy the UFC, and that's what I was trying to say.
But you know what's great? But you know what's great is local fights, small local promotions. I enjoy those so much more. They're more affordable. They're smaller. They're more intimate. There is definitely a feel between the fighters, right? There's different energy. So those are great. But I'm a MMA fan. Now, that being said, so I haven't watched a boxing match. The reason I went to this fight is because it was a chance to see Mike Tyson fight live, right? So as a fan, I was really excited, and I was really excited for Mike because one of the most genuine, nicest guys I've ever met in professional sports, right?
He'll turn around and kill you in the same sentence.
Chuck Liddell, I flew on a JSX flight next to Chuck Liddell and had a conversation with him, and also very genuine, very nice, I've met Randy Couture, so these fighters tend to be really nice guys. And honestly, I think the guys like that are more successful than the Conor McGregors who I've never met the man, but I hear he's kind of a dickhead.
Okay, but going back to what we were talking about, I understand that, and I appreciate that, and I love the local fights. I love local music, support local. I get it. What I'm talking about are the different disciplines. I mean, like with Gracie Baja, they're really good. They're really big into Grappler's Quests, right? We went to Del Mar. We competed at the Grappler's Quest. But that was based on that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It was based on those techniques and the discipline that we studied. I didn't go learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because I wanted to go kick someone's ass. I truly saw it as the art and the sport that it was. And does it help that I was in law enforcement and that it helped in my security and law enforcement side of things? Yeah, of course. But in the end, like a true fan of a discipline, a true fan of a sport, it's like the NFL. Look at the NFL. Okay, I don't want to go see arena football. It's just not the same to me. There's different rules. There's different.
And so when isn't arena football?
Hold on, let me finish. But when you cross those disciplines, I think you create something that's just for Hollywood. And I think with the expansion of TikTok, with the expansion of the big thing right now, I was talking to my 17-year-old, stepdaughter, is the big thing right now is how many likes did I get? Am I on this platform? Am I blah, blah, blah? Like everybody needs their 15 minutes of fame. And all these kids think they're going to grow up to make $10 million on OnlyFans or Instagram or however they're going to do it. Right. And that's the whole thing, that it's taken away, I think, from the organic, genuine sport and art.
Yeah, maybe. Like, look, I mean, it's still
that was
work.
not a boxing match. They even changed the rules. I mean, it was
They did
cool.
change the rules.
I love the fact that we saw Mike Tyson at 58 years old, 50 Shades of Great, Dare to Live. He did what we talk about. He got ready. He got his body to in a position and in the shape of his life. So whether or not that fight went well, he recovered from a hospital bed almost dying to getting himself back in shape. I think he overdid it. I think that's why he had the knee brace on. I think when he walked out, I mean, he looked defeated. How did he look in person at the thing? He looked defeated on TV.
He was did looking not down, look like Mike Tyson.
His arms were hanging. He did not look like Iron Mike.
He did not look like Iron Mike. I agree. No, so here's the thing. Yeah, was that a lot of Hollywood? Sure. It's sponsored by Netflix, right? Normally this would be a pay-per-view. In this particular case, it chose to do, people could watch it for free. It was the most streamed fight, I think, ever in history. Like, the stats are staggering. The door was
I saw the end of the
largest
fight about
door
14 hours later after it stopped buffering.
So that's the benefit of going to it live. The fight wasn't very expensive. The stadium was gigantic and it was pretty full. All right. And so yeah, it was successful. So here's the thing. I don't know if adding Hollywood to things are good or not. Look, UFC is owned by the same conglomerate that owns William Morris, which is a talent agency. Like, let's just call it what it is, right? So is it a pure sport? No, it's entertainment, right? The reason that Dana White now, who, by the way, Dana White is a legit fan of fighting. I used to run into him at local fights. And he was just, at that point, he was just Dana, and he would hang out with the fighters, and he would we went to dinner the night that I spent some time with him. We went to dinner with a bunch of fighters, and he picked up the tab, and it wasn't a big deal. And that was before the private jets, and it was before the limousine and the security details and everything else.
I actually met him through Brandon Vera once. When Brandon Vera, The Truth, he had his own gym down in Chula Vista. Dan Henderson out in Temecula. In fact, Dan's still a big part of the community. Chuck Liddell's showing up again. So Chuck Liddell's now doing stuff. He was at the Philadelphia Eagles games. I mean, they're bringing that back. But when we talk about it, though, Serge, it's going back to the whole. You're talking about the local fights, but
I want to ask that
question. There's local,
but here's the thing. I want to ask. Like, I don't know if I can get Mike Tyson on the show, right? Because now everybody wants to talk to him. I don't know, but I will tell you, I would like to find. I'm going to try to find maybe Chuck Liddell or Randy Couture or somebody who is retired from MMA, who is in their 50s. And see if they would ever get back in the ring. I want to have them on the show and talk to them about what they think, right? Mike Tyson was thinking. And as far as disciplines, I love MMA because I love jiu-jitsu, because I used to train jiu-jitsu. Like, I can imagine how people who played football in college watch the NFL, because I bet you it means so much more to them, right? I trained Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Now, the reason I trained Brazilian jiu-jitsu is initially because I wanted my son. My first wife was 5'2", I'm 5'7". We knew that David wasn't going to be very tall, so I figured he's going to need to, and pretty nerdy, because both my ex-wife and I are pretty nerdy with what we like. And he was home. Oh yeah.
As you sit in the basement in the recording studio.
Well, not only that, I mean, forget that. I mean,
are you playing Fortnite? Are you
see my tattoos?
Fortnite?
You should see my tattoos and my.
No, I have.
So, but the reality is that I got my son into it, and then we sat around and we watched it, and when I left law enforcement, one of the things I missed about law enforcement is there's a physicality to the job that you don't have anymore. And so Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu allowed me that physicality, and allowed me to test myself against other people, right? In a way that you really don't get a chance to do it. Because if I wanted to, with other martial arts, if I wanted to box, then and I wanted to really test my boxing skills, I'm going to wind up with a black eye and a broken nose, and I'm going to wind up being hurt, right? Because if you're boxing at 80% intensity, even with headgear, you're going to get hurt, right? If I want to do Taekwondo or another martial art at full intensity, you're going to get hurt. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a unique art where we can go at 90%, we can compete and be relatively safe, because the moment that you get into a bad position, you tap. I've gotten hurt a couple of times in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but every time it wasn't my training partner. It was me not tapping when I should have tapping or doing something stupid, right? And so what I love about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu isn't just that it's a great martial art. And we saw Royce Gracie when MMA was first rolling around blow through people by utilizing grappling. We know that
when the octagon had a cage and you couldn't get out of the cage, and there were cage fights,
right? And I as a cop, right? As a initially in patrol, you fight a lot of people, and
everything goes to the ground.
Everything goes to the ground.
Everything goes to the ground,
right? So I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for that reason, and so it's a great discipline. So I like mixed martial arts more, but I will tell you, as far as this fight is concerned, I don't know because the damage from in mixed martial arts versus the damage from boxing is different. And so I don't know if some of the retired fighters in their 50s should come back to mixed martial arts. I think that would be a bad idea, right? Can you spar? Sure. Jiu-jitsu is one of those things that you can practice into your 70s and 80s.
But Serge, you're missing something, though, is if you go back to the true origin of the sport, I mean, just look at the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. Like, if you go back to the 90s when Tyson was big, right? This fight wouldn't have even been heard of. You know, with arm reach 4 inches longer, like, you needed to be in the same weight class. You had to have there had to be a comparable fighting. It was apples to apples, right? And so to have this age difference, to have the weight difference, to have the height difference, I think that's Hollywood. This was made because it was Mike Tyson. It was Mike Tyson against the new generation. You know, I opened my YouTube and became famous, colliding. You know, it was the IT or the technology of the 90s of Mike Tyson's Punch Out versus, you know, PS5, 3D, Jake Paul.
Well, and
I'll tell you what I really liked at the end, and this is what I think is awesome. Is you see the interaction between Andrew Tate at the end? I would love to see. Andrew Tate could whoop his ass.
You know, there's discussion that Andrew Tate's brother, I didn't know this, but Andrew Tate's brother is also a kickboxer. So they're talking about the Logan twins and Jake and Andrew Tate and his brother. They should do like a mixed
like a wrestling, like a tap them in, tap them out, or a dual fight.
What do they call that when there's two wrestlers? I'm not a wrestling fan, so they're tag team. They should do a tag team match. I don't know. I mean, I would like to see if Jake Paul really is a boxer and not just a Hollywood darling or a YouTube or just a self-promotion machine, right? Because ultimately, that's the issue. The issue is not whether these TikTokers have something of relevance or something of interest, right? The issue is right now, influencers has become a job. It's a self-promotion machine, right? And so what I want to see is Jake Paul not just be a self-promotion machine, but actually fight a ranked boxer. If he says he's a world-class boxer, then let's go fight another world-class boxer.
That's why I'm calling it. I think he needs to fight Canelo. I think he needs to fight Canelo.
Is Canelo a heavyweight or?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not a boxing fan.
You know what? Maybe he's a middleweight because he's the one that fought Pacquiao.
Yeah, I think it's smaller. But the thing about it is that I think what he needs to do is to fight right now a top 10 ranked heavyweight contender. Right? Let's see him fight and I know he's talked about the fact that he's fought, you know, ranked guys and he's done really well, and his manager in the post conference, I saw it later, talked about some of that. Yeah, this was a great spectacle. It was very profitable. They're going to do something like this again. I get it, but I want to see Jake Paul fight somebody who is not in their 50s, who is currently competing. The other thing too is that I will say Mike Tyson went from, when was the last time he fought?
20 years ago.
20 years ago. So the thing about it is that there's a level of ring rust that exists that if you haven't fought on a big stage in 20 years, maybe a tune-up fight would have been in order. Maybe it would have been a good thing, right?
No, this goes back, Serge, this goes back to like Rocky IV. This goes back to, when, live in America, going in against Ivan Drago, and the guy gets murdered because Ivan Drago, coming from Russia, had no idea what an exhibition fight was.
And
right?
he's also,
and that
also showed that he was juiced.
Yeah, but I also, but I think that you get these things like, and we've gone so far off topic of the drive of our show. I mean, we've turned into Stephen A. Smith, talking about a sports event here, which I mean is good because it's relevant, but it goes back to the fact that all of this leads into your passion, right? Mike Tyson's passion in life is boxing. I think the fact that he's fighting Jake Paul, for whatever reason they do it, I think that was disrespect to boxing for a lot of the reasons you've talked about. This guy didn't grow up. He didn't put in the work. He didn't grow up saying that I'm going to be this world-class boxer, right? He is doing what it takes based on 2024 social media, 15 seconds of fame. Let me get popular. Let me make my millions. That's what it was. But that being said, all that aside, all that ESPN, the evaluation of the fight aside, the underlying part of this that relates to our show is the fact that a 58-year-old guy got his shit together, trained his body beyond where it could. He probably trained too hard. That's probably why he was defeated walking into the ring. He probably trained too hard.
Sure.
But it's the message is that to our demographic is regardless of why it happened, the fact is that Mike Tyson, being where he is in his life, said my passion in life, what I want to do, dare to live, take my life back, was to get back in the ring, and he did it.
No, props to Mike Tyson and props to Jake Paul, who got into a ring with Mike Tyson and performed and won the fight, right? Whether it was thrown or not, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of those punches.
Absolutely
right?
not. That's what I said.
But yeah, so I don't know. I was frustrated when I saw the fight because it didn't look like Mike. Now, that being said, I don't know what shape, like what happened to him in the last couple of weeks leading up to the fight. I don't know how his health is, right? But yeah, when you're 58, this is your health, can really sideline you, right? Fatigue, as Vince Lombardi said a long time ago, fatigue makes cowards of us all, right?
That's true.
And so, yeah, but I will say that to me, the message for Mike, from Mike, right, for him fighting, for me, that message is, if you're only as old as you think you are, and if you want to do something, then do it, right? And that's what he's and when the announcer asked him, "What do you say to 50-year-old guys out there?" He said, "Look, if you want to try, but it's not easy." So I agree with him,
and that's a great message too. It actually is a great message because you can try and you can dare to live. But when you get knocked down, I guess, Serge, that was a great point. Going into it, don't have false expectations that it's going to be like it was when you were 25. And that being said, don't give up just because it's tougher now. And you don't need to go fight. We're just using boxing as an example in this case because that's the relevant topic. But don't go fight a 25-year-old. Like, get in the ring, roll with the guys, which you said. The whole thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and what I said, the respect for the discipline, the respect for the sport. I did the same thing. I medically retired out of the police department with a double spinal fusion. I need to actually calculate what I do. I can't do, the whole thing was, Professor Parker, for what it was, that Gracie Baja told me, hey, I'll let you come to the classes for free. Like, you could go to the editor. I don't want to go to the mixed martial art classes because in there's very sensitive, like I need controlled movement. That's why I chose Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, just like you. Controlled movement, controlled rolling. It got to a point where, remember when you get your white belt and you get your first stripe on there, and when he puts the stripe on your belt, your gi is soaked because you're so sweaty. And now you got your blue belt with your first or second, and it's not soaked because you actually know the techniques. The harder you're working in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's called wrestling. That's wrestling.
I have to give props to Gracie Barra. So Gracie Barra, by the way, there's amazing Jiu-Jitsu schools out there that are awesome. I love Gracie Barra. I consider them to be my team, even though I haven't trained with them probably in 8 years. And
I still have my gi hanging up. I see it all the time.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan. And I tell you what really, I tried Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a little bit before that, and it didn't, this didn't take. I didn't like the school. And people accuse Gracie Barra of being the McDonald's of Jiu-Jitsu. And maybe that's true. But you know what's great about McDonald's? I've been to McDonald's all over the world. I've been to McDonald's in Europe. I've been to McDonald's in Israel. I've been to McDonald's in Malaysia. And I will tell you that in Malaysia, when I was tired of eating Malay's food, right, I walked into McDonald's and I ordered a cheeseburger, and by God, it tasted like a cheeseburger. And I don't even like cheeseburgers, but it tastes exactly. When I ordered a
Big Mac is a Big Mac.
A Big Mac is a Big Mac. And when I ordered a cone, an ice cream cone, a soft serve ice cream cone, it tasted exactly like what I needed, right? So the good thing about McDonald's
hold on a second. When you went to go order a shake, the machine was broken.
No, but it wasn't. But the reality is,
McDonald's.
But McDonald's all over the world tastes like McDonald's, and there's a value to that. And what I really liked about Gracie Barra, and when I was training a lot and I was traveling, I would go to different Gracie Barras all over the world, right? Or Gracie Barra affiliated schools all over the world. They were all run in a very similar way, right? Yep. And so, for example, other schools, when it's time to roll, just say pair up. So generally, because if you're new, you don't know who you don't have any like friends there. You wind up rolling with the people that nobody else wants to roll with. So you wind up with goons, which is how I got a broken rib the first couple of times I tried jiu-jitsu at a different school. At Gracie Barra, they don't do that. You don't just choose your partner. What you do is you pull the line, which means the most senior student rolls with the most junior student. And that makes sense. It puts the blue belts kind of together, right? It puts the brown belts. Usually the brown belts that are in line, right? Some schools, there's black belts in line as well. They're going to the class, right? It puts them with the brand new students. And so that alone is a reason to join Gracie Barra, that you're going to wind up training with the people who really will make you better, right? And so I'm a huge fan of my team. I train with Flavio Almeida and Vivi Almeida, his wife, down in Orange County. And Professor Felipe is there now, and it's just an amazing team. So yeah, I have to give them props. And maybe my call to action for this week is to try to go back on the mats and put a leg brace on. I broke my leg last October, right? And I'm still recovering from that. But now it's been a year, and maybe it's time for me to get back on the mats. Maybe that would be a good thing.
You know what? That's what it is, and it's inspired from seeing Iron Mike kind of take our concept of the weekly guide for men to take your life back. This isn't middle age. This isn't the end of life. This is the time to take our lives back. We're going to start life 40s going into 50s. We are going to grab everything we can. We're going to get every little piece inside and make this life the best day. We talk about living the best day of our life every single day. And if you're not doing it, what are you doing? You look at Sylvester Stallone, you look at a lot of these inspirational people, and whether it's fictitious or whether not, you're not going to, I refuse to just go sit down on a recliner with a 6-pack of beer and some cigarettes and let my life go.
And the time is now.
Live my life.
The time to live your life is now. The time is now, because and this is where this age in the 50s, right? We now have resources which we might not have when we were younger. We now have experience which we might not have when we were younger, and we have opportunities and we're still young enough to do stuff, right? And we're still healthy enough to do stuff, but with all of the resources and the experience that comes from being 50. So yes, to the timed life deserves to be lived. I can't say it any other way. That's one of my favorite saying. Life deserves to be lived, and you owe it to yourself, to your family, to the people around you, to live that life. So yeah,
absolutely. And I think just to wrap this up here, we always talk about our friend circles. And if you want to get back into your life and you want to regain that bucket list, when you look in the mirror and you go, who's that guy? And you want to see who that guy's going to be, surround yourself with people that also look in the mirror and want to be similar. Okay? Take it from Iron Mike. Go out there, regain your title, even if you win or lose. The best part is just trying. Because this isn't, Mike said something that was so inspiring. And I'm going to close on this. He said, when they said, well, what do you say to all the people who said you couldn't? I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. And you go out and do it for you. We're going to go live the best day of our lives. You go live yours. Have a great day.
The show doesn't stop there. Join the movement on IG, 50 Shades of _great. Or go to our website, 50shadesofgreat.com.